Hello and welcome to the Sky Sports F1 podcast sponsored by Dropbox. I'm Matt Baker and joining me this week is a man who needs no introduction to Formula One fans. It's the former Haas team principal, Guenther Steiner. Guenther, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, and thanks for having me.
A pleasure, a pleasure. Not your first time on our podcast, of course. You came on before. Funnily enough, the last time you had a book out. I'm starting to think the only reason you come on our podcast is for the old books.
To tell you about the book, looks like it.
It does look like it on current evidence.
All right, sorry, it was too obvious.
It's great to have you. Great to have you on the pod. And look, it was a really brilliant book. I enjoyed reading it a lot. It's called Unfiltered. This is it. I guess you told it. Not me. Yeah. Unfiltered, my incredible decade in Formula One. And I guess this has been keeping you pretty busy since leaving Haas at the end of 2023?
Yeah, it kept me busy, but there's a lot of things keeping me busy in the moment, so I never expected it to be this busy after I left Haas. My wish was to tone it down a little bit, spend more time at home, just, think what to do next. And it didn't happen. I still don't know what to do next, by the way. I'm still thinking about it. But I got busy the day after it was announced that I'm not there anymore. People asked me, could you do this? Could you do a little bit of TV work? Can we do this? And then, obviously, we started to write the book. And, with the time flew by. I mean, we are almost end of the year now. So, no, but it's all good, it's good to be busy. I'm very happy in the moment.
You mentioned at the end of the book, and I think it's kind of what I thought as I was reading it, was we've got an F1 movie coming out, haven't we? Produced by Lewis Hamilton, starring Brad Pitt. And I just wonder why they didn't look at your story, because it's a pretty good story for a movie. I mean, the highs, the lows that you've been through in Formula One, there for all to see in the book, are pretty incredible.
Yeah, but I don't know what the movie. I think the movie is about a driver which comes back to racing. So it is a story. It's not about the team. It's about the driver, which is Brad Pitt. So no introduction needed. But I don't know the real story of the movie. But you never know if it is coming out in the future.
The Guenther Steiner biopic, yeah,
exactly,
starring who?
Not me. I'm going to be too old for it.
Yeah.
They need a young guy.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I think he's the same age as me. He's
not
a lot younger. No, I think we are very close. So.
I wondered though if we could start at the end. Start at the end of your tenure at Haas, if you like. Start at the end. Weird place to start. But one of the great stories in there was about how you found out you were leaving. And I know it was obviously quite a strange time for you, and you would have been told you were losing your job. But where were you when you found out that you weren't going to be needed for the 2024 season?
In a supermarket. In my hometown in northern Italy. I honestly, as this written in the book, I was looking at what to buy, for the evening, and then I got the phone call. But so now every time I go into that one, I remember that call. But I don't remember it as being upset about it. For me, at the time, it was like, It was like, oh, I don't want to extend your contract. Yeah, fine with me. That was it, And I went by and bought some ham, and then went home.
It was ham, wasn't it, that you were picking?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I thought maybe I tried to pick which ham, and Gene didn't help me to pick the ham,
Weirdly, that didn't come into the conversation. I mean, look, you say sort of wasn't, you were happy to part ways at the end of 2023. Reflecting on it now, how does it feel not to be a part of Haas Formula One team?
It feels very normal. The thing is, once you're not in there anymore, for me, looking at Haas now is looking at like at any other team. Obviously, I know a lot of people there, and I knew that I was there, but it's not like that I'm focused. What is the team doing? A lot of people cannot let go. I can let go pretty easy. I know what I did. I mean, to establishing a Formula One team and to come up with the business plan, finding the investor, doing it all yourself, not being called, can you do a job? Actually, building something, that's what I like to do, and I did it, and now, I mean, it can walk on its own, and I'm pretty happy for it, So it doesn't, for me, it just feels like, I mean, more the people, some people is still there, so when you see them, it's still nice to talk with them, but because you're more connected than with the people in the other teams, because you work with them very closely, and that's a nice thing. And they are, most of them, I think, you never can say all, but most of them are very respectful what I did, So it's always, we can always crack a joke about things, so it's fine. But for me, it doesn't do anything. I have no bad feelings against the team.
And maybe some relief that you can now be honest about the situation you found yourself in at Haas near the end of your tenure, the lack of investment from Gene, all of those things that you write about in the book. Is it maybe a sigh of relief that you can just say it as it is?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, and also what it does, you understand when you're gone, because if you're in it, you've got this tunnel vision. I need to do this, and you never think about it. Why the hell actually I'm doing this? This doesn't make sense. You just want to keep on going, and when you're out, you look back, and I look back, and I said a few times, I think I should have left in the mid of 2 years before, mid of 22, because it started there to getting difficult. I couldn't see how can we make progress, It's good to make points, but if every race you go there and you try, you're so happy if you make a point, but how long can you do that, you can do it a long time, but not me, For me, it's like, I need to have something bigger to aim at than getting a point, because I've done that. I got the T-shirt, I have it, It's like when you set up an F1 team, it's like I want to set it up, I want to establish it, then I want to get the points, and then I want to go to the podium, and then, you have to have a goal. And when COVID hit, everything stalled there. We just, every day was the same. We're doing more of the same, just doing a job. And if I want to do a job, there is a lot of easier ways to make a living than running an F1 team, making a point.
I think that's an understatement. There's a lot of easier ways to make a living than being a Formula One team principal. So the book it outlines pretty much from the very start of Haas and how you came on board and how Haas was born. Just give us some newer fans in Formula One might not know the story of how Haas came to be, and I found that really interesting in the book. Just give us a kind of a bridge summary of how Haas came to be.
Yeah, I moved to the States in 2006, and I worked there in NASCAR. I opened up the NASCAR team for Red Bull, and then I don't go into all the detail because it's getting too long, but one day I had the great idea, or I saw somebody doing an F1 team in the US, but they didn't succeed. But I found the idea is good, and I understood why they didn't succeed. And I said, I think I could succeed. Their idea is good. So I think America is a good market to find an investor, because it's the biggest economy in the world. There's a lot of wealthy people which have got take risks to invest. So I just wrote up a business plan in my free time. It was nothing like, I didn't go there and say, this is what I'm going to do now. I decided to write a business plan and go around and try to find people which are potential investors. And I found Gene Haas after a while, and that was how it was born. He said, yeah, I like this plan. He invested the money, and I started up to get a license from the FIA to do everything, and found the right people to start an F1 team. And that is the very short version of it. It was a lot more difficult than that, but that was the very short version, because otherwise we are sitting here the whole podcast telling you how it was done. So.
But who were your big supporters in those early days from the F1 community? Who backed you?
I think nobody was against me, I must say that one. I don't have any enemies, maybe the wrong word, but nobody against it. But the big backer was, for example, Charlie Whiting. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. He was the technical director of Formula One at the time, of the FIA, not of Formula One. Stefano Domenicali, which now is the CEO of Formula One, but at the time he was team principal at Ferrari. Jean Todt was always a supporter. He was the president of the FIA at the time. So I've got a lot of people which actually believed in the idea. Obviously, they believe in the idea, and you have to show them that you can do it. Not because they like you, they say go ahead, because if it fails, they are part of the failure. And who wants in these positions to have a failure in his period of when they were in charge? So, no, I got a lot of Bernie Ecclestone. It takes some convincing. Niki Lauda helped me a lot, because I was a good friend of him. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore as well. But he was a big supporter. He tried to, if I needed to speak with people I couldn't get to, if Niki Lauda calls, everybody answered the telephone. So I got quite a lot of people which believe that if I'm going to do it, I will succeed.
Yeah, and that you're quite of a small part of a small club of people who have started a Formula One team from scratch. I mean, Jackie Stewart, the people who I love today, Ron Dennis, Eddie Jordan, Peter Sauber. These are all people who have built a Formula One team from the ground up. That must give you a lot of satisfaction being in a club with those names?
Yeah, no, it's I never think it like this. I think it's pretty cool, to have been able in your life doing this one, because when I think back, I would have never thought this will happen. But I need to, I maybe had the idea and all that stuff, but then doing the team, I give a lot of credit to the people which actually helped me, and I must say I was lucky in the beginning with finding the right people, because it is a lot of work to do, and we didn't have endless money to do it. We were always on a budget, which is nothing wrong with it. We're always on a budget to do it. So I've got a lot of people around me which had the same passion for it to get it done, and that's important. It's not like people which just wanted a job and said, yeah, I'm going to do it, but I work from 9 to 5. No, they were on it, and they love to do it. So a lot of credit is going to the team to actually make it happen once we got the license.
Did you want to be team principal of Haas?
I think it's a natural thing when you start a team that you should be, because it's difficult to start something and then handing it over to someone else. But it came pretty natural. Yeah, that is. I had the idea. I knew how to do. I explained how I'm gonna do it. That is why we got a license, because I can explain it. It would be wrong, I think, if I would have said at a certain point, actually, I just want to be the chairman. I give somebody else to do it. I think that would not taking up not following up your commitment or what you promise people. You need to show what you do it, that you do it yourself. I think that was the right thing to do.
The role of Haas team principal strikes me as a little different, perhaps to some, like Andrea Stella, for example, at McLaren, who has Zach Brown above him, and I guess does a lot of the commercial side, and then we see Andrea mainly looking after the race day stuff. I mean, that's a very broad summary of what he does. He does a lot more, but figuratively, yes. For you, it was a lot of the commercial aspects. It seemed to be the recruitment, the running of the team. It felt like you really drove that team forward from the very top. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. And we don't have to forget the times were different then. The small teams, they were all structured like this now. As you rightly say, it has a little bit changed, like McLaren. Zach is doing the commercial stuff, and Andrea is doing the racing, like I call it, But quite a few teams are doing it this way now, and I think that comes because they are big companies now, these teams. A lot of money involved, So somehow is maybe a better structure to have it like this now in the modern days than it was in the old days. There's just a few left which do it all themselves. It's like Fred and Toto. Maybe I think Christian is doing a lot of himself. Maybe they leave a little bit more the technical stuff to the technical people, like in the old days. You had your technical director doing it, while Andrea is doing sporting and technical. So everybody's a little bit different, But it goes. The trend is now that the team principal is more the racing guy, not the commercial guy anymore.
Let's talk recruitment then. Drivers first. How did you go about recruiting drivers to come to Haas F1?
I think just explaining them what we are going to do and trying to get the best talent out there which was available. And it's one of these things. You just need to tell them what your aims are, tell them credible to them that what you say you can achieve, and then people got interested. It wasn't easy in the beginning because at the time there were a few teams which were just failing or just failed. So a new team coming, but I explained them what we are going to do, and that is why they came. And obviously, you always need to be lucky as well, a little bit, that you are at the right place at the right time. There were a few good drivers available, which didn't have a seat, and obviously we took that to our advantage.
I was reading that Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg, funnily enough, were part of the conversation, weren't they, in the early days of Haas Formula One, which is obviously ironic given that they're still racing for the team at the moment. I mean, what were your early impressions of those guys?
I mean, for me, Nico was always a talent which was always at the wrong place at the wrong time. When we got into it and I tried to get him, not saying that he would have been at the right place at the right time by then, in our first year, but I rated him highly. And we almost got him to sign a contract, and then he bailed out. But I got him back in the end, so all good. And with Kevin, we spoke quite a bit as well, but he did have not a lot of experience, wasn't racing for a year, and then we had the option of Esteban Gutierrez, which just had done 2 years at Sauber, so it was a Ferrari driver, and Ferrari helped us a lot in getting to the first race, with Maurizio at the time Maurizio Rivabene at the time was the team principal, so we made a deal with him that we take on Esteban, In the end, also the year after Esteban, we took Kevin because he then had a year at Renault, so he got a little bit more experience. It all worked out, It's one of these things you just get on with people, and as I said with Hülkenberg, it didn't go. We didn't get him in 2016, but we got him 2 years ago, because we stayed friends, because for your career, I cannot be upset if he doesn't want to come. I'm not getting upset. I mean, he made a decision, but if I made a decision, don't get upset with me, So that is how we roll. So, but no, in the end, we always had pretty decent drivers.
You certainly did, yeah. And look, the VF16, your first car at Haas, you've born this car out of, from the very start. So when you see it on track, when you see, and I dare say we'll get on to talk about Australia and Bahrain, your first 2 races where you scored very good points, that must have been so satisfying for you to step back and go, wow, we've done this.
Yeah, I mean, that was at the test in Barcelona in 2016, when you drive out of the garage. And when you do it, you feel proud, but you don't realize what was actually achieved. There's a new F1 team. We got out in time. Everything was okay, except that after a few laps, we lost the front wing. But hey, I forget them memories, But again, we got out again the same day. We fixed it. We were very flexible. We had a lot of good partners, like with Dallara, which helped us out with all that stuff. So it is a good feeling.
How was Jean to work with in the early days? There was one quote that really stuck with me. "Don't embarrass me, Guenther," was what he said before the first race.
Yeah, I mean, that they called me up to, I hope you don't embarrass me or something like this. Yeah, as in the book, it's true. I mean, he phoned up to tell me that one. It's like, I couldn't, to be honest, I couldn't care because I know I wouldn't. Because for me, I would embarrass myself. We are all a little bit selfish here, and I'm not going to embarrass myself. Because for sure he could bail out and say, nothing to do with me, he messed it up, But I was sure I don't want to embarrass myself because, I don't think failure was not on the cards. We could have difficulties going out, that is possible, but I was sure it wasn't a failure. And for me, what made me very happy is we got to Barcelona, and I think it was the day before the first test day. Niki Lauda came by without me calling him, and he just came by. Hey, I want to check out if you did a good job, but it was a friend saying it, And he said, actually, you're better prepared than I thought you would be. That was pretty cool for Niki to say, So, you see your real friends there, what is happening. And I don't think I embarrassed anybody.
Before we continue our chat here with Guenther Steiner, a quick word from our sponsors, Dropbox, because we all know that victories in F1 can be won or lost by the finest of margins, and it's the reason that data plays such a crucial role in a team's success. In fact, over a race weekend, 1.5 terabytes of data is collected per team. It's quite a lot of data, isn't it?
That's a box full of it.
Yeah. It's a lot of data. But as a technology partner of the McLaren Formula One team, Dropbox is trusted for its fast, secure and reliable syncing and sharing capabilities, which helps the team quickly search and manage this huge amount of content and data. Interested in finding out more? Get an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at how Dropbox fuels the McLaren Formula One team's speed and performance by visiting dropbox.com/McLaren-F1. And of course, a big thank you to Dropbox for sponsoring the podcast. So look, you score points in your opening Grand Prix in Australia and Bahrain. Who within the paddock was starting to get suspicious? Ron Dennis is the person I'm sort of thinking of with this. What did he say to you, and what were the conversations that you had as you started to really announce yourself into Formula One?
Nobody actually comes to you direct. They all talk about, that is what is happening. It's like in normal life, nobody comes with you critiquing you directly. It's all. Oh, did you see what they did? I mean, I think we are all humans and we're all the same, But no, I think it started to get quite. It was called the grey Ferrari. This is just a customer car. You're not allowed to do this. And obviously, it started to get a little bit of rumor. But then after Bahrain, we were not doing so well anymore, and it dropped off a little bit the interest in it, you know. But at one F1 commission meeting, Ron Dennis got very verbal with me about it, what he thinks of what we were doing, that was not in the interest of the sport. But anyway, you always have that, and I can take it, you know. I mean, obviously, nobody did that before the business model like we applied, you know, to use a lot of parts from Ferrari, from another team. It could have been any other one. But it was a new way to do it, and people, because they haven't thought about it, thought it was not the right way to go. But you do what you can do to have the success, you know, and that is in the end what I have to do as running a company, finding a way to do the best with what I've got there.
And conversely, Ferrari, you found were very supportive. What about the food at Maranello?
Food is pretty good, you know. I mean, maybe that was the decision why we went there. You know, I went a few times there to the. I don't know if you have been in Maranello, but to the Montana restaurant. You know, it's. You know, I always go back there very happily. You know.
Ferrari, good partners then. Haas, well, still are, of course. It appears to me that you didn't feel burdened by being a team principal, perhaps until COVID. Is that fair? And when the pandemic struck, that's when perhaps more of the weight of being a business leader, which I guess you could argue all business leaders had that effect, when people's jobs, people's livelihoods were on the line. Yeah,
you know, you have a burden, but it's stressy, but it's good stress. You know, you're building up, you're creating something. It's all good stress. You know, you go, and then COVID comes, and all of a sudden you're in a situation where you don't know where you're going. You're going up, you're going down, you're going sideways. You don't know. And that is the worst thing as a leader, when you don't know where you should be going. And at the time, we didn't know. I mean, nobody understood COVID, where it will take us to start off with. And then Formula One didn't know where it was going. Haas didn't know where it was going. So you're in this position where, I mean, a typical week was like we had the F1 commission meeting. We met every week, all the team principals, FIA and FOM, and everybody tried to be positive about or finding ways to go back racing, to keep on going, because we knew thousands of people were working in F1 and the world was at a standstill. You know, we cannot just give up. And then on the other side, I had this, a meeting every week with Haas, with the Haas board, and there was always how can we stop this? How can we stop the bleeding? You know, do we really want to be here? This is never going to happen. So you're in between, you're like a ping pong ball between negativity and positivity, and you don't know where you end up. And you just get by. I mean, I personally think that I got by COVID very good. I mean, North Carolina was where I live. I could still walk outside, you know, and all that stuff, because I was always thinking about the people which live in an apartment, cannot get out, you know. It's very tough, you know, and then you try. Any moment of joy you give them, it's good for them. Like Formula One was thinking a lot like this, and that is why Formula One came back as the first sport putting a race on again in June, you know, or putting 2 races on in June in Austria, you know, which was like a miracle, in my opinion, what was achieved there, because there were hundreds, if not thousands, of people going to an event under full COVID, and we stayed safe, you know, because everything was put in place in very short time, and the leadership there from FOM and FIA was very good, you know. So, you know, we have to see also the good things which Formula One did to society as well. You know, we got the world going again by giving them something to look at, you know, something live, not only streaming old movies.
Yeah, yeah, certainly did. And yeah, Formula One of the first sports to get back. We're rattling through the decades. I'm aware of this. There's a lot more detail in the book. Can't not ask you about the crash that Romain Grosjean experienced in Bahrain. You write really well in the book about how that process happened and how you dealt with it. I just wonder if you could give us a summary with time, with years on afterwards. How do you reflect on what happened there and that obviously horrendous day really for Formula One?
The biggest reflection is we got lucky. You know, somebody looked after us, you know, because this is a thing. I always say it was my longest and my shortest 30 seconds in my life, you know, because, you know, if he's not coming out now, he's not coming out. End of story. I'm doing racing cars since a long time. And when you see this bowl of fire, you know there's no way to survive in there if you're not coming out. The only way to survive is to jump out of the car. There cannot be done anything. And while you think that, while you try to take control of the situation, there he jumps out. And then everything is over. It's finished, you know. We are good, you know. Yeah, he maybe has a broken arm, a broken leg, or a broken toe. I don't really care. It's not that I don't care that he's hurt, but for me, the most important thing is he's alive, and we deal with the rest. And that's what it was, It's a very, now I'm not looking even back negatively because he got away with it. It's actually a positive thing. A crash like this, think about the positives, the safety in these racing cars, without the halo, he would have had no chance to come out of there, with the people around him, which helped him out and all that stuff, What was there was just like, he got lucky, but F1 made also their own luck by putting very stringent, every time something happens, they introduced new measures to make it even safer. After that crash, there were changes made to the car that this cannot happen anymore, because there was nothing wrong with the car. It's just like we never experienced something like this, and you cannot even simulate it. So I take the positives away, and we need to give a lot of credit to Jean Todt, the FIA president, when he pushed the halo system through at the time, because a lot of people were against it, but he kept on pushing. And in the end, it's people making decisions which make these things happen and make it good in the end.
That's a perfect segue to talk about the FIA. And I'm intrigued by your relationship with the FIA and how it's evolved. You mentioned in the book that you had a very strong relationship with Jean Todt. How was your relationship with Mohammed Ben Sulayem? How were they different as presidents of the FIA?
Jean Todt, I still have got a good relationship with Jean, and I've got a lot of respect for the guy, what he did, what he achieved in his life. He's pretty good, winning a lot of championships and then being a good FIA president is not easy to do in a lifetime. And with Mohammed, I know Mohammed a very long time. He comes from rallying, I come from rallying. I spent quite a lot of time together with him, and as a person, I like Mohammed. I always liked him. He's actually a good character. But as a president, I think sometimes he gets involved too much into the sport, and that is, I think he doesn't do himself any favor with that, You have to have people which run the organization, because it's a big job being a president of a federation like the FIA. And if you get involved in the day-to-day running, I don't think there's the time there to do it at the level it needs to be done. And he just, in my opinion, should have good people around him doing the job for him. And he always gets involved in it, and therefore sometimes he's critiqued. And, if you, in these positions, you need to get used to be critiqued. You cannot be always just, how good you are. No, and if you get praise, you also get criticism. And that is when you're a public figure. That is part of it, but you need to live with that. You cannot be everybody's friend. That is just not going to happen, not even me.
Especially in Formula One.
Yeah.
So the recent swearing incident, which obviously we've spoken about.
I know that you are going to get to that one.
You know where I'm going with this, don't you? And I'm sure people have asked you about this already. But look, Mohammed Ben Sulayem said, we don't want drivers to swear. Max Verstappen then swears in a press conference, gets served with a community service notice. I dare say you would have had a few community service notices,
maybe. I never swore in a press conference.
But you never swore in a press
conference, never. I need to mention that one, So
you're very smart.
I'm a good boy, yeah.
But when obviously you're out the sport now, so you're looking at this from the outside. What do you make of that when you see that happening?
What I make it, what did we start up now with putting this on the table? We discuss a thing which shouldn't be discussed, or not be discussed. It's not even worth to discuss, because Max swore at the situation. He made a comment about his car, So is it right? No. Is it wrong? No. It's just like he used a terminology which he decided to use. It's fine, but more you bring it up, more controversy you create, more people speak about it. I think if you don't want to happen this, what I would be doing, when there is driver meetings, every race, there are all 20 drivers there. You go in there and you say, hey guys, I've got one wish. Can you help me out here? I'm the president, I'm not.
Could be, maybe one day.
I'm the president. Can we tone the swearing a little bit down, guys, please? And they're 20 intelligent people. They don't challenge you, but if you tell them that you get fined or something, they challenge you, because it's difficult for a race car driver. When you're sitting in a car and you're going 350, 360 Ks, and some other guy cuts you off, and you say something in the emotion, you're not thinking when you say F idiot, you don't really mean that he's an F idiot. You say, what did you do at that moment, So it's, and then the TV beeps it out anyway, So it is emotion. We're emotional people. What should you say? my friend, you shouldn't have done that, No, you're not going to say that, when your adrenaline is going and your pulse is up to 160, You're not going to say that. But that is also which defines a sport. We need this in a sport, emotions, Otherwise, I don't know. Why would it be interesting? So I think it was made too much out of it. And we are speaking far too long about it now, hear about it. It's like, somebody used the F word. All right, then, don't use it again. That's it. Move on, it's life. It's like, and that's my opinion about it, And obviously, Max, I think he said he's not going to do the service he was told to do. So what is next now? Will he go to jail?
Well, Red Bull would be very keen for him not to go to jail with the job they've got ahead of them, won't they, for the rest of the season?
After the season.
Sure,
exactly.
very lenient judge. Okay, very good. Great to get your thoughts, Guenther. We've got a few quick-fire questions from people at home, so we're just going to rattle through a few of these. Tom would like to know, when are we going to see a Guenther Grand Prix team? By the name Guenther.
Well, I don't know. Would be nice to have one, but I think that is not going to happen. I haven't got the money to do it, and the F1 wouldn't give me a license, I guess,
You've got the experience of getting a license from the FIA.
If somebody can get one, I think it's me,
You're the man in the know. Claire would like to know, if you were still the team principal at Haas, who would you have signed for the 2025 season?
I would have signed Ollie Behrman, because that was already... it wasn't a done deal, but it was like if he does well this year, that's what he would get. And the second driver, I would have tried to keep Nico. I think I could have achieved that one.
Yeah. What are your expectations for Ollie next year?
I think he will perform well. He did well in the Ferrari, he did well in the Haas. I know him pretty well. I always speak with him and I see him, and he did 2 FP1s when I was there. We gave him his first F1 outing. Is he world champion material? We will find out after 1 or 2 years, But he's good. He's a good driver. He has got talent, and he's a good guy. He knows how to get into F1.
This is a question from Addison. If there was one driver that you could work with, who would it be and why?
Current driver.
Any driver in history. Let's say any driver in history.
I would say I never worked with Senna. I didn't know Ayrton Senna, so I would just like to work with him because everybody speaks so highly about it, and some other people I know, so I know how they are, but everybody speaks so highly, and I would like to work with him just to learn of him.
Very good answer. Couple more. F1 shorts. In your career, what would you say was the toughest decision you ever made?
In my career, what was the toughest decision?
Sorry, as I've...
No.
Stumped you. Good question. Good question,
it's a good question.
Shorts.
I think the toughest decisions, plural, was in the COVID times I had to make, to furlough things, to shut the wind tunnel down, things like going backwards. That's always the toughest decisions.
Especially in that period,
Exactly, that period, yeah.
Sam, what traits are essential to being a successful team principal?
Dedication and passion. That are the traits. You need to be dedicated, because otherwise you cannot put the work in which is needed.
Very good answer. Guenther, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really, really appreciate it. And best of luck with the book. What's next for you in terms of after this, after obviously a few interviews and stuff for the books, but what do you think you'll spend your time doing over the next few years?
I don't know, because, it's the same like when I left Haas. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I was going to do something. It seems to be that for an unemployed, I'm keeping busy. So I'm just trying to keep, I'm keeping busy in the moment. I'm not running out of things to do for the next few years, but I don't know really what is coming. I work on a few projects. Hopefully I can pull some off. And otherwise, I've got enough to do to keep myself busy.
Yeah, bit of family time now as well, I guess.
As well, that's what I always try to tell the family. I'm spending more time now with you until, again, something comes in and they go and do that one. I told them after Haas, I'm a little bit more at home, and they were like, really? Oh, yeah, sure. Guess what? I wasn't.
I'm sure they'll be pleased to see you. Guenther, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thank you very much.